Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HP Podcast, episode number 374. I'm Ben, and with me here today, finally, all of us together once again. And it's only been 2 weeks, but the beautiful boys. Hello, Dave. Hello, Brandon.
Hello.
How's it hanging?
Low and to the left.
Yeah. That's like one of those phrases that it's still funny to me every time I hear it. But it's this, like, you get that response a lot when you ask that question.
Well, it's either low and to the left or low and to the right. Well, I guess there is a third option.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could just be like normal.
Just like barely enough to drape over the balls. I guess that could be, you could say that, but then that would just be kind of sad.
Well, that's being sad is like a thing that people do. So you gotta work with what you got.
All right.
Dave, how are you doing on this evening?
I'm good. I'm actually really good. Just before the show started, I was on the phone with my tax guy. It's tax season in Canada. I guess it's tax season there too. And I don't know,
kind of.
Yeah, I don't owe money this year. In fact, I'm getting money back. I normally get like a little bit of money back, but last year, being on paternity leave, completely fucked with my taxes, and I owed like over $2,000.
Yeah.
So I was really nervous. I was pretty sure this was going to be a normal year, so it wouldn't be the same thing, but you never know.
Yeah.
So I was really anticipating that discussion, and sure enough, I'm getting a little back. So we're crushing a beer tonight, boys.
Let's go.
Slam it, baby.
To celebrate. So yeah,
That just means you have more money to buy beer for the boys' weekend camping
There you
trip
go.
coming up.
Yeah,
True.
that's true. Yeah, I'm actually saving quite a bit of money. I'm trying to. I have a leased vehicle right now, and the lease is up next year, next April. So I'm trying to hyper save so that I'm really looking forward to the moment that I walk into the dealership, like to return the lease, and the dealership is going to be like, "Oh, let's get you a new lease. You know, let's lock you in for another 4 years of to bleed payments from you." And I'm gonna break the news to the guy that no, I'm keeping the car. And the guy's gonna be like, "Oh, are you sure you want to do that? The interest rates on used cars are so high." And I'm like, "Nah, bitch, I'm paying cash." So I've been hyper saving for that moment because I'm really looking forward to that next April. So
A little trick out there for people. I had this happen one time. Is if they try to get you to not pay cash, because obviously they make very small margins on. They make very small margins on the actual sale of the car. A lot of what they make is on like extra services and on financing and all that kind of stuff. I got somebody to give me like $1,500 off of the price that I had already negotiated if I would sign and it wasn't like a full price car, it was a used car. But I got them to give me that money off of it if I would finance it with them, because they got a bonus for like every financing deal that they did. And then I was like, "Well, can I just pay it off?" And they were like, "Yeah." So I literally took out the loan, paid it off the first month, never paid any interest, and got $1,500 off the car. Worked out pretty all right for me.
yeah,
Yeah, you should try that, Dave. Tell them your friend Ben told you.
I will.
Yeah. What kind of car are you gonna get, Dave?
So it's the car I have now,
Okay.
and by the time I turn in the lease, it'll be 80,000 kilometers, maybe slightly over, which the dealership will make you think is ancient and the car is going to explode, you know, any minute.
Mhm.
But in reality, a car with less than 100,000 kilometers is a baby. And when it's had
Newer
one
cars, yeah, for sure.
yeah, and it's had one driver, and I happen to know the guy, and he's a
Yeah.
great guy, he's a great driver. Why would I, you know,
Right.
why would I not keep the car? So
Yeah. Oh, so you want to buy that car?
yeah, I want to keep
Yeah.
I want to pay the residual value to keep the car that I've leased for the last 4 years, rather than, you know, get into another cycle of payments.
Right.
So,
I've looked at leasing before in the past when we weren't really sure what kind of car we wanted to go with, and I was just like, "Well, we need something, but I don't really know what I want to buy." And I never really considered it, because one of the big reasons is I never take my car in for any servicing, and that's one of the big like selling points, and it's a good selling point. If you lease a car and something goes wrong, you just take it in, they fix it. Sometimes maybe you have to pay something extra, but like that's a big selling point for dealerships. In your 4 years of having that car, did you ever have anything major that you had to get worked on?
I had two I don't know exactly what happened, but I think it appeared someone swung the door open and dented my door. So I had to get that fixed both times, which in the eyes of a dealership is an accident,
Yeah.
because that will devalue the car, which means they don't have to give you as much.
Right.
So yeah, but I had both of those things dealt with, and I did go through insurance, which I guess was a bad idea, but also it means I didn't have to pay out of pocket. My premiums didn't go up, but the value of the car went down because on paper it's an accident, which is horseshit. But
Right.
we leased because my wife is self-employed, so from a tax perspective and writing off, which don't ask me to explain any of this, it's favorable to do so. But I will never lease a vehicle again because you have a kilometer allowance with a leased vehicle.
Right. Yeah.
And me being a little bit compulsive, constantly watching that odometer and like doing mental extrapolation of like, if I drive this much over the next 12 months, then I'm going to be at this many kilometers. If I extrapolate that over 4 years, then I'm going to go over by this much. It's a stress that I don't want to have to endure again.
Yeah.
So I won't do it.
And those over your, like the miles that are over your allowance, they rake you over the coals for them. Like if you're over your allowance, the amount they charge is crazy.
I remember I went into the dealership like a year after the lease started, and I said to him, I was like, I think I'm going to be over my kilometers. And he said, how much? And I had estimated it was going to be like, I don't know, 5,000 kilometers. He's like, do not worry about it. Cause I think it's like 15 or 25 cents on the kilometer. So at the end of the day, I was going to be paying like an extra $500 in the overage, which in the grand scheme of, you know, having that car for 4 years wasn't a big deal, but it's still like the anxiety of like, this is basically my car. And I feel like I'm driving it with a leash, and I want to be able to go on a road trip or or visit my parents an hour away every weekend or something like that. And I don't want to live with this anxiety of how much I'm driving.
That sounds like a pretty good rate. Some of the rates I've heard from friends have been pretty much higher than that. A lot higher than that. Is that why you rented a car to come down here?
Yes. Also, we only have one car.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
my wife needs it for the weekend, so this is just easier.
Makes sense. Well, Dave, I wish you good luck in your saving of money to purchase your own car.
But I will still purchase an obnoxious amount of alcohol for the weekend.
Oh, of course. Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, I would expect
worry.
so. Cool. Brandon, you used to work at a dealership, but you didn't work in like you worked in maintenance, right? Or not maintenance, but like
I worked in the
deep
detailing
cleaning.
department. Yeah, like conditioning.
So you weren't part of the racket.
No, yeah, I just was like the person who made everything look good and got none of the credit. So, yeah, inversely, I'm at a bit of a Dave's at a bit of a like let's celebrate. I'm at a bit of a I'm angry about my car. Lots of problems, boys. In the past week, I've put about $800 or $900 into my car, and I'm not too happy about it.
Yeah,
but I do have 2 new control arms, 2
yeah.
new ball
Those are
joints,
important, and those are important.
and a new rear wheel bearing.
You got 2 ball joints, 2 arms, and a ball bearing and a bearing replaced for $900.
One of them was replaced by the shop. The other 2 were replaced. I just paid for parts and did it with
Okay. I was gonna say it's still a good price. I mean, not that you ever want to have to spend money on your car, even though it's an inevitability.
Right.
But yeah, that's not bad. I was gonna say, like, even when I've done it myself, it's been like close to that, so that makes sense.
And it's still making a noise.
Yeah.
All the things needed fixed.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. Like, they need it done regardless, but it's still making a noise. So,
yeah,
I'm a little bit frustrated with that. But hey, look. Now I won't have to replace those parts for the rest of the time of me owning it, hopefully.
it's probably true. Yeah. My car was paid off sometime last year. I don't know. And it feels pretty great. Like now that though, it's like, well, should I reduce the coverage on it because you have to have full coverage if you have a loan on it. And I'm like, nah, because I couldn't replace it for the amount of money I'd be saving. And if something happens, I want to have it. And then I'm like, should I get a new car? No, I don't really need a new car. Like I personally barely drive. I think I've driven like 5 times since the beginning of the year. My wife, I mean, I've been in the car with my wife or someone else while they've been driving, but I've personally driven not that much. And she drives a little bit more than me, but we still put like less than 5,000 miles a year on a car. So I'm like, I don't really need a new car either.
Right.
And I'm like, but feels weird to have bought a car from a dealership and have it paid off and nothing be wrong with it yet. Like it's been 6 months and it's like, oh, the car's still fine. Yeah. Anyway, I really like cars, but I really hate dealing with them, period.
Yeah. I knew this was going to happen driving 100, over 100 miles a day.
Yeah.
That's 177 kilometers, Dave, a day. But yeah, it still sucks.
Well,
necessary evil.
It's like 4 days a week, so it's still like 70 a day on a normal work schedule.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's still a lot. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it's still quite a bit. Yeah, I've had long commutes in the past and I don't miss it. I do miss it from one perspective. When you have a commute, you have that time probably to yourself. Which I really don't I don't get a lot of that. So like it's nice to have a little bit of time, especially when I was working a job, doing my master's and starting a brick and mortar business on the side. Like during that time, the car ride was the only time I had where I wasn't talking to someone or sleeping. So it was really nice, but I don't miss it anymore. I don't miss the drive, even with the benefit that came with it. Just too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
I'll be moving closer to my job here in the next half a year, so that'll be
Yeah.
much nicer.
Nice. Do you boys want to talk about some video games?
First, can we talk about the first two chats we got? And hello, Edward, right?
Batman says, "Why are you talking?" I don't know, Batman.
First time chatter. Thank you for joining.
Needed something to do.
Account created yesterday.
Oh yeah, nice. Miss Shay Jobev, I don't know, something POV. What's happening, guys?
That's definitely a bot.
Yo.
Howdy.
It has a baby profile picture.
It's a friendly bot, so it's welcome. You know.
There is no such thing, Dave. See, that's where you're wrong. There is no such thing as a friendly bot.
Oh, sorry. Can I? Or is there more chats? I had something
Well, yeah,
else I wanted to touch on.
Grief Edward says yo, and then message retracted, and then says yes. This is Edward from the chat. We know Edward. You're good, man. You're all good. We don't think you're a bot. We think the person maybe that is somewhere else is a bot. It's fine. It doesn't matter. We don't care about the bots. I better be careful saying that on Google's platform of all places, like the AI uprising. And I'm all about AI to an extent. But the AI uprising is coming.
Do not come.
Let me just tell you guys a quick story. So I've been using some AI to help build some stuff at work lately. And my coworker developed this process where he could put his bot into a chat, and then I could put mine into the chat, and then they would argue with each other and come up with an outcome. Well, we were having some like curiosities about like, why does it function this way when that's just on my computer, and it functions this way when it's in the chat, et cetera, et cetera. So, and by the way, it's very helpful. It's like really useful. It comes up with really solid ideas. But today I was like watching the chat go by, and I was like, wait a minute. And I scrolled back and looked, and it said like, Ben did this. And it said that I had created a document that detailed out how I wanted to interact with it, and told it like it needed to be really passive and all this kind of stuff, because I was, I wanted my opinion to go, basically. I was like, I didn't do that. So I went and looked. It, by interacting with me, had developed that for itself, that, okay, Ben, and actually it was really complimentary of me, which was nice. It was like, Ben's solutions are typically well thought out and correct, and I end up defaulting to what he says on the design side, but on the technical side, I take the reins, that kind of thing. But in the chat with my coworker, it said, Ben told me not to do this. Meanwhile, I never said that. So then I went in and like had to scan all my memory files and make sure that like nothing else was in there that was weird. But it was just an interesting, like, did the AI just lie about me? I don't like that.
I'm excited for it all to cannibalize itself, which will be coming very soon.
And you'll be out of a job.
No. Data centers were around long before AI.
They were, but I guarantee you, most of the companies that are around now wouldn't know what to do without AI. Unfortunately.
Still gotta get, unless the internet goes away.
Hey, remember that digital apocalypse we were talking about? It's coming.
Unless the Great Dark happens, and then I'll be having more issues.
If the Great Dark happens, we probably have less. Yeah, exactly. We have more problems to worry about than our jobs, I'd say. Okay. Kotaku says, studio behind unique RPGs Steel Rising and Greedfall reportedly shutting down after 18 years. This has not been updated with the news story. Let's find the news story. Thanks a lot, Kotaku. Should have known better. All right. This comes from GamesBeat. Spiders confirmed shutdown amid Nacon insolvency crisis. Spiders, the French studio behind games like Greedfall and Steel Rising, confirmed that it's being liquidated, shutting down effective immediately. This comes amidst the pending insolvency of its parent company, Nacon, which has put Spiders and two other studios in peril. This comes shortly after the studio released its latest game, Greedfall sequel, The Dying World. Nacon filed for insolvency last month, which we talked about, citing the failure of shareholder Big Ben Interactive to make a debt payment. It requested judicial reorganization proceedings under French law, which would allow them to continue operations while renegotiating its debts. According to their statement, this would ensure the sustainability of the company's activity under the best possible conditions, protect employees, and preserve jobs. Spiders, as well as fellow studios Cyanide and Kyloton, are the next dominoes in that line. All three filed for insolvency after Nacon did, and now Spiders has confirmed via a message on its official Discord server, and I saw it on Twitter, that it's being liquidated after a long period without clear answers. We have no confirmation at the time of this writing that Cyanide and Kyloton will share this fate. Spider's bread and butter were its action RPGs, including the aforementioned Steel Rising, the Technomancer, and Bound by Flame. Greedfall is one of its biggest hits, with the studio launching the sequel in early access last 2024. The studio shutdown comes less than 2 days after the Dying World's full release on March 10th. The DLC will still launch via Nacon, and if you have any questions or run into issues with your game, contact Nacon directly, as we will not be able to reply. Dave, kind of stinks, not kind of stinks for a studio to get hit by their effectively their publishers' issues. Maybe they were somewhat to blame for that as well, as far as underperformance and all that kind of stuff. But regardless, always sucks to see a good developer go down. The question I really have amidst all of this is, what about the guys who developed RoboCop? That these are the real questions we should be asking as podcasters. Are they safe?
So that I can't answer, but I do have an opinion on this. I love Greedfall. I think this is really sad, but unfortunately, it's really not surprising considering kind of the state of the industry and some of the high-profile studios that we've seen get shut down over the last little while. A AA studio like Spiders is kind of one of those candidates where you'd look at and you'd be like, I don't know how long they're going to stick around. I always thought it was weird that Greedfall 2, a single-player, narrative-driven RPG game, was an early access title that launched like a year and a half ago into early access. It just kind of stunk of, this is a team that needs to get a project out the door and start to get some cash flow in order to keep their heads above water. So, it's really disappointing because, again, I loved Greedfall, and I thought Spiders was a really, really talented developer. But none of their games, like, they all seem like they probably demanded a pretty substantial budget, but none of them were real sales hits, I don't think. I think they were all highly regarded, especially the last three being Greedfall, Steel Rising, and then Greedfall's sequel, and even Technomancer going out back a little bit further. But I don't know, they didn't really seem to knock it out of the park from a sales perspective on anything. And I think, they seem to benefit from their publishing relationship with Focus in kind of the late 2010s. And I think when Focus went through some of its restructuring and it bumped over to Nacon, I think that was probably kind of the final nail in the coffin for Spiders. So it's really sad, but unfortunately not surprising. If you haven't played Greedfall before and you're into, the old BioWare and, Bethesda style of RPGs, it's a really, really good game. It's something you can finish in like 15 hours. Like, it's not obnoxiously long, but it's got a little bit of Eurojank in it, but it's still a really, really good RPG. I loved the combat system in that game. And then, the sequel's out too. I don't know what kind of state it's in, but not surprising, but sad nonetheless. I want to point out the year Focus Home Entertainment had in 2019. So they published Greedfall in 2019. They published Plague Tale, and they also published The Surge 2 all in 1 year. I remember that year and looking at Focus, and I'm like, this is a banger. Like, this is a Capcom style year, like in terms of the kind of games that they're publishing. And I thought, at that point, the quality of like AA studios that they're going and finding, like, this is the kind of publisher that I want to keep my eye on. Unfortunately, it didn't really kind of keep up that way. But rest in peace, Spiders. You won't be forgotten. So fuck you, Nacon.
Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's another AA going by the wayside. I think clearly there was some talent here. I just think that most people didn't their games weren't successful enough to break the mainstream. Not that they weren't good or that they weren't critically acclaimed or that people might not have picked them up on sales, but I think that was part of the problem is I think most people who don't know anything about video games probably would never have heard of nearly a single title in the past couple years that these people put out, Spiders. So, whether that's a marketing problem, whether that's a visibility problem. I don't know. And I'm not saying that would have saved it, but I think that that's the hard part with these AA studios sometimes is they have talent and they make things that are good by all metrics. Maybe not wonderful, maybe not revolutionary or groundbreaking, but when they don't break out into a larger audience and the sales numbers wane, this sort of thing unfortunately happens. And that's kind of just a product of that. So, yeah, sad to see, but I'm sure that some other studios will be scooping up some good talent. Hopefully, these people can hit the ground running. But yeah, just sucks to see. But
I'm curious. I agree with you for the most part. I'm wondering though if it's a matter of Spider's games, not like if the studio wasn't profitable, or if they were just part of the Nacon restructuring. Because even let's say they were profitable by $1, that means they're still successful as far as like financially. They're still making money, even if not hand over fist. But if it's like kind of like we talk about with Amazon, not that I think it's the same thing, but Amazon will shut things that are making money down in order to divert the money they are spending on it elsewhere.
right,
So I wonder if it was like part of their restructuring deal, or if Spiders didn't do well, like especially Gridfall 2. If it didn't do well enough to make its money back, and it was kind of like, well, we could continue sinking money into this, but also right now we're in insolvency, so we kind of have to ditch something.
right. It would be cool to see them, farm out or sell out some IP, specifically Greedfall, I guess, since it seems to be the biggest name on this list from Spiders, the most recognizable, I would think, anyway. It would be cool if they kind of did right by the IP as to kind of keep it going in some way, but that doesn't always happen with these sort of closures. So,
No. Grief says, funny hearing Focus Home and Nacon brought up, and I remember Frogwares going after both of them. Interesting. Let's move on to the next thing. There was a story that we were gonna do about the Steam controller being leaked, but the Steam controller, or not the controller getting leaked, but like the details about it, some reviews, pricing, all that kind of stuff. But then Valve just went out and announced it. I don't know if it was one because of the other, or the timing was changed or whatever, but it was close either way. But the story is now Steam has announced their controller is going to be on sale on, is it May 4th? May 4th at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's going to be $99. And the reviews, boys, are very good. Very good about this controller. Brandon, you don't play a whole lot with controller anymore, but as a former controller enthusiast, I want to hear what you think about this thing. Have you got a chance to watch any of the reviews or anything?
No, I honestly have stayed clear just because it doesn't really do anything for me. I don't really have a good case use for this sort of thing, especially because I stream my Steam machine, my Steam setup to an Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
I could cut out some of the latency, right? But most of the things that I'm playing from Steam on my couch aren't things that I would be playing with the controller if I cared about latency. You know what I mean? So,
but do you play with a controller at your desk ever? You do?
Very rarely.
Okay.
Very rarely, and especially lately, like literally almost never.
Yeah.
It would be nice just for the simplicity. Most of the controllers I have, I can't seem to get to. I don't know if my Bluetooth is boof on my PC or what, or I don't know. Anyway, I have to plug them in when I play them. So that would be nice if I could remedy that by getting this. But either way, yeah, I think this is great. The last Steam controller was really cool. I don't think it did very well, but then after they stopped making it, a lot of people wanted it. And it was kind of like a should have enjoyed it while it was around, sort of thing. So I'm glad to see they're giving another go at it. Steam certainly has the resources and desire to make good quality products, as they've shown with the Steam machine and their continued drive to make things consumer friendly in all ways. So yeah, I think this is good. And the people that are up in arms about it being $100, there's clearly a lot more going on here than on an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller.
It's essentially a Pro controller.
Yeah. Yeah, by a long shot, and it's even cheaper than the Pro controller.
Oh yeah, by like $100.
Yeah, so like that's just the thing. You're really getting the best of both worlds. You're getting something that in all ways is, a better form factor, and like has more functionality in my opinion, and is at a decent price point. So yeah, I personally won't be indulging in this, but I think it's great. Who knows? Maybe if I start playing something and I'm really hankering or tired of dealing with stick drift or don't want to handle the ugly ass Xbox controller, maybe I'll splurge, but probably not. I'm gonna give it a big probably not, but I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
It's the best controller I've ever seen.
Gabe did it.
Davey, what do you think? You are more of a controller guy.
I am. Yeah. I think historically Valve has marketed to a much more hardcore audience, and I think a hardcore audience would look at the Steam controller and they will look at the technical specs and they would very quickly justify the price as actually a pretty good deal. And I think, when the three of us sit here and look at it, we know that this is something that's meant to compete more with that Xbox Elite controller or the DualSense Edge, which is more of a premium device. But I think, the direction that the industry's kind of gone with PC gaming being more of having a mass appeal to a traditional console gaming market, I think Valve may have a bit of an identity issue with this controller. Because I think, traditionally a controller should cost $60, $60, $70, I think is the price that comes to people's mind when they think of picking up a controller. And, a DualSense controller can now work on, anything that has a Bluetooth connection, same with an Xbox controller. And I think the average consumer would look at the Steam controller and say, well, why is this so much more expensive? And probably not go to the lengths that, a more hardcore audience would do to look into the technical specs and see that, this has, it's a much more premium device than your baseline DualSense or Xbox controller. So I hope that Valve works really hard on promoting the kind of the technology that's in this controller and how it goes over and above just kind of that basic controller that, a lot of people are used to. Because, with the Xbox Elite or the DualSense Edge, you have the base controller to compare it to. You don't have that with the Steam controller. So I think it's cool. The reviews are great. And it's, if you compare it to the Elite or the Edge, this is a really good deal. But I don't know if the average gamer is going to compare it to that. I think they're going to compare it to kind of the base controller and say, well, I don't see the where this extra value is coming from. So I think Valve really needs to sell the fact that this is a premium device for, hardcore gaming, if they really want to sell this thing. So, but with their next generation of hardware, it seems like they're on the right track, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one of these for sure. I don't know if I'm going to buy day one, but I'm definitely curious about the machine. And if I end up being in on the machine, then I think this is a pairing. And we talk about attach rates, and this is a perfect sort of example of how that they might be able to move these controllers easily. So,
Dave, I'm curious, when is the last time you bought a controller? Period.
Just a controller?
Yeah.
Would my mobile controller count? Would the
No.
wafer I bought count?
No, like for a modern console.
I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I bought an extra controller for my PS5 because it came with the one and I got a second one.
I was just wondering because you said that controllers are $50-$60, or that's what we expect them to be. The DualSense Edge, just the base DualSense Edge, or no, not the DualSense Edge, just the DualSense is like $85 now. And I think the Xbox controller is like, I think retails for 65, but you can find it a little cheaper than that because nobody wants to play Xbox. So like to me, it's not that much more than a regular old DualSense, or just, it is a bit more than an Xbox controller, but like you said, it's definitely marketed, or it's definitely meant for higher end users. It's also got multiple use cases with Steam and everything. I do think it's a little bit, this came out recently, that the controller won't be able to be used with like anything that's not Steam based, or like maybe it's Linux, but I think it's Steam specifically based. So that kind of stinks that you couldn't use it for anything else, but like it's designed for Steam games, so that makes sense to me. But yeah, I agree with Brandon. I saw a lot of people whining about the price, but there were a lot more people who were like, "Wow, I expected it to be more than that," and maybe it was going to be cheaper than that, and they had to bump it up some. I don't know. But Dave, I would say for you, I mean, I don't know how many games on your computer currently you play with controller. But from what I understand, they are going to have, this is what they announced their intention was previously, was when they come out with the Steam machine, they'll have a bundle that will include the Steam controller. I don't know if that's going to be discounted or not. I kind of doubt it because of the crunch that they're under with all the supply constraints and everything. But seems to me like it'd be a better option to just hold off and wait for that Steam machine if you don't have a use case for it in the moment.
For sure.
Yeah. For me, I'm pretty excited about it. I got to actually play with one of these at GDC at the thing that Steam put on, and it feels really nice. And I don't really use controllers very often anymore. I use them for some games, like I'm playing Vampire Crawlers with a controller just because it's like easy. And then I'm playing Returnal, or not Returnal. I was going to say Returnal 2. It's basically Returnal 2.
Practically.
I'm playing Soros, and I'm playing it. So I guess anything I play on a console, but usually on PC, I don't use one. But I do think with the Steam machine, it's going to be a better use case, especially like I'm not going to play intense games sitting on my couch, most likely, that require a mouse and keyboard. Or maybe I will, and I'll get a new one that's wireless. I don't know. But I'm pretty excited for it. I kind of thought between $75 and $150 was kind of where I was putting it. I'm happy it's on the lower end of that range I was thinking of. So it's pretty cool. All the features are pretty cool. If you haven't watched any breakdowns about it, check it out. When I was using it, like, it immediately felt natural. Maybe that's because I have a Steam Deck and a lot of similarities with the trackpads and everything. But when I was using it at GDC, just in the half an hour or so, I was playing around with the different stuff they had on display. It was like, wow, I feel like I've been using this controller like for a long time. There's no getting used to it differently. Some people might be upset about the fact that it doesn't have offset sticks. I understand it's a big thing for some people. I can switch between an Xbox controller and a PlayStation controller without thinking. Like, it's never affected me in that way. So like, it didn't bother me, but if you're used to offset sticks, it could be a bit of a change for you. I don't know. Anything else on the Steam controller, boys?
Nope.
I'll be there day one if they'll let me pre-order it. Or if they'll let me order it.
Steam machine announcement, pricing, etc. is close by, do we think?
I would say that's pretty likely. However, one thing that they did say at GDC, which got spread all over the internet, was basically they were hoping to already have it out by that point, and just the insane things that happened with RAM and the pricing were part of it. And to an extent, it wasn't even that they couldn't or wouldn't pay and pass on with the RAM cost. It was that they had put in multiple orders that were being canceled on them for RAM. And we've talked a lot about RAM shortages and issues. So they were having trouble getting enough for their initial batch, let alone a follow-up batch. So I think that maybe we will see that come out soon. Whether there's going to be enough supply for even a portion of the people who want to buy it, I don't know. Because a month ago, that was in March? Yeah, in March, in person, they were like, we don't know, like, candidly, we don't know what to do now. So to turn it around much quicker than that would be pretty monumental, but they've got deep pockets over there at Valve. So I'm sure they can figure it out. It's just a matter of, do they want to sell the device for 3 times what their original price was, or something like that? I think that's a consideration for them too. If I were them, and I had infinite money and no like direct need to immediately turn a profit, I would say we're going to hold off for 6 months until the prices go down, even though we have the commitments of what we need. Just because they want to make money, don't get me wrong, but they're such a consumer friendly company to me that it wouldn't surprise me if they did that. I hope they don't. But I'm also in a position where I'm able, unless it's outrageous, I'm able to just buy it because I want to, and it will work well for my job and it will work well for my hobbies and everything else. But that's not the normal situation. Grief says, Skill Up noticed the controller didn't work outside of Steam, but it did when he set up the game to launch through Steam by adding it manually. That's very interesting. I hadn't seen that yet. So yeah, I don't know. Again, good guy Steam. I imagine eventually they'll probably, maybe not till after launch, but add in drivers for other things, other programs. But like I think people were talking about how Game Pass, if you play a game on Game Pass, you couldn't use the controller with it. But according to what Grief said, Skill Up said here, if you add that game to Steam and launch it through there, maybe it does work because it's using the controller, whatever the name for it is, SDK. Moving on.
So, real quick, why is only my name on the stream and nobody else's?
Oh, I usually delete them. I delete them every week, and you just came at the point where I didn't get to it.
It's all good. I'm just glad I didn't write like dickhead or something this week.
Yeah. Usually as soon as you guys join the room, that's the first thing I do is remove your names because I'm lazy and have forgotten for 6 months in a row to tell you you don't need to add them in because it doesn't matter. But yeah, the old format, you would add your name and it would show up properly and then go away. And now it doesn't do that anymore. So your name just sits there the whole time. And I find that personally annoying, but maybe some people don't. I don't know.
I was just wondering.
Dave, I'm going to give you the honors, if you would like them, of this next news story.
Oh, baby. Okay. Let me crack this one open here, fellas. You ready for this?
We're ready.
You ready? CNN writes Ubisoft is so back. No, I'm just kidding. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is out July 9th. Everything you need to know. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is finally on the horizon, and we've collected up all the key details you need before boarding the Jackdaw with Edward Kenway on his adventure through the Caribbean. We'll cover release information, new content, PC specs, etc., etc. Edward Kenway is back in Assassin's Creed Resynced when the game releases on July 9th, 2026, 13 years after the original game's launch. Resynced is a faithful recreation of Black Flag, enhanced in the latest version of the Anvil engine, featuring many improvements and new content, and led by Ubisoft Singapore, famous for developing Skull and Bones, with many of its original games developers returning to bring the game to the latest generation of hardware. Blah, 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 blah. I don't need to go through any more than that. Yeah, it's the worst kept secret in gaming for a long time. Finally got announced last week. Brandon, how do you feel? Did you have any prior experience with Black Flag?
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about the remake finally being announced?
Yeah, Black Flag is in my top 3 AC games of all time. It's either 2 or 3. Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag kind of fight for the second place spot, with 2 being the number 1. But yeah, this is good news, I guess. I feel like I've bought enough remakes or like from the ground up remakes at this point to know myself well enough that I love when these sort of things get announced, but then I buy them and like never play them. Or like play them for like a couple hours, then I'm like, okay, well, yeah, it's still the same. So yeah, this is cool, and I'm glad that they're bringing back one of the best ones that have ever been made. One of the most uniques, one of the most soulful, amazing story, amazing naval combat. Like everything about this game was exceptionally ahead of its time, and is a standout point by all metrics in the Assassin's Creed IP generally. So yeah, I love this. I did watch some gameplay to peep the visuals a little bit, and I think that it looks fine. I think a lot of the times with these remakes, whenever they revamp it from the ground up, it loses a little bit of the charm. just a little bit. Not to say that it's not beautiful in a different way, because it is beautiful in a different way. But I would love to see a nice happy medium with some, as the industry keeps making these revamps from the ground up, a happy medium to pay homage to the original art style and to make visually appealing with the new technology. So, not to say this is egregious by any means, but yeah, this is good. I think this is great. I personally won't get it, unless it's on some sort of deep discount, and it will be because it's Ubisoft. So, give it a couple months, and it will be on a deep discount, and then maybe I'll get it, and I'll probably not play it. But this is good.
I'll jump in here. I have a really weird relationship with this game. I think Assassin's Creed Black Flag is an excellent game. It's a really bad Assassin's Creed game, in my opinion. It lost a lot of the parkour and kind of interesting kind of exploration of historical cities. Yes, Havana's cool and some of the other cities that you can explore, but it didn't have like they didn't have the charm of some of the cities in the earlier games. And I don't know, just as an Assassin's Creed game, I always had a weird relationship with Black Flag, but it was an awesome open world video game. And the pirate stuff, it didn't come out of nowhere because it was in Assassin's Creed 3 to an extent, but really kind of, I don't think anybody saw Assassin's Creed producing one of the best pirate video games we've ever had. And so yeah, I also like that they're stripping out the modern day story stuff from that was in the original Black Flag. So you're not going to play as the Abstergo agent in modern day because that just didn't add anything to the game. And they're also removing multiplayer, which again didn't need to be in there for a remake. And they're just kind of focusing on the Assassin's Creed stuff and the awesome pirate gameplay. So, and it looks great too. And the fact that they're, it was still in the clunky combat era of Assassin's Creed, and the fact that they're bringing in the combat mechanics from the RPG games into this is going to make for an awesome, awesome game. So, yeah, this, I was kind of on the fence about how I was feeling about this remake, because again, I have such a weird relationship with this game as an Assassin's Creed game, but after seeing it, I'm fully hyped. The only thing I'm disappointed about is the $300 like Ultimate Deluxe Edition that comes with the Edward Kenway statue. Sold out really quick, and it also didn't come with a version of the game that I can play. So the console version only comes with a physical version, and I don't have anywhere to put a disc. And the Steam version, which wouldn't run on my computer, came with a digital code. So that kind of sucked. But the only other thing I want to mention about this, just kind of as a whole, is I think Ubisoft kind of being down in the dumps have quietly pulled off some little wins, I'd like to say. You think about like X-Defiant, Star Wars Outlaws, Avatar in like 2023, 2024, like, and Ubisoft came out and they were like, we have to turn the ship around, we have to refocus, da da da. I feel like they've started to do that. Like we've seen like this resurgence of Division 2 in the last couple months, the successful launch of the mobile game, which is called Division Resurgence. Assassin's Creed Shadows, it appears sold along the same lines as Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is really good because Valhalla sucked, even though it sold really, really well. Anno 117 was apparently the best-selling Anno game, which, that's kind of a niche title, but it still has had, it sold enough copies that if that's like the best-selling one of the series, then I don't know. I think with the announcement of Black Flag, it appears as though Ubisoft is refocusing and re-strategizing in a pretty good way. So I'm happy to see that Ubisoft appears to have righted the ship somehow, and I'm looking to forward to seeing them. I don't know, keep getting wins because I want to see Ubisoft do well. So yeah, good for them. And it's a $50 game.
60.
That was a nice 60. Okay, not full price. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to comment on, is that I was actually hoping it would be a $50 game or cheaper. But that's 60, which at least isn't full price, but it's full price as of 2 years ago. So it burns a little bit, but it is a completely remade title other than the story. So okay, that's fine. I am excited for it. I might be like Brandon in that I don't get it right away, but maybe when it's on sale, I'll pick it up. I do think it's going to be a great time. I had a good time with the first one, although I don't remember that I ever finished it. I think it was the first Assassin's Creed game I didn't play thoroughly, like the whole way through. Not because I didn't like it, just because that was a very tumultuous time in my life where I wasn't finishing most games I was playing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think that collector's edition you mentioned, Dave, looked awesome. I think it's a little bit it feels cruel to me that most of the time these collector's editions, people whine that it doesn't even come with a copy of the game or something like that. Like, they don't include physical or digital, it's just a collector's edition. And then other people whine that the collector's edition doesn't come with a physical copy. And in this instance, where you just want a digital copy for the version you get, you can't. So it feels like it was targeted directly at you. You're like the Venn diagram of people who get screwed by this. Yeah, bring it on. Put out a great game, Ubisoft, even if it is a remake, and I'll get like half a centimeter back closer to respecting you. Anything else further on Black Flag Resynced?
Nope.
According to GameSpot, Witcher 3 director says studios should embrace Gen AI, but not to replace people. Game developers should embrace generative AI, according to the Witcher 3 game director. He said this in a new interview in which he also confirmed his upcoming game, The Blood of the Dawnwalker, used generative AI early in the process, but no generative AI assets should be in the final game. He also said his studio Rebel Wolves wants to use AI, to help support its existing workers, not replace them. During a discussion attended by Eurogamer, he said Rebel Wolves. I'm saying he because his name is like Tomaskowitz, I think, and I don't want to say that a bunch of times. He said Rebel Wolves use generative AI to create voices in the game in the early stage of development. RPGs like The Blood of the Dawnwalker requires its developer to support multiple different languages, and this is costly, and changes after initial recording can be really expensive. Rebel Wolves utilize generative AI to hear NPC voices early in the development process to help team members determine if something is working or not. If Rebel Wolves use real human voices at this early stage of development and then realized a change was needed, that would be really expensive and not efficient game development, creating new pressure on the team. This is why we use these kind of tools from the beginning to do an iteration of the story. And we are sure we're there where we want to be. We remove all the voices and record everything with the actors. Going on, he says he believes other game developers should also embrace AI, but only in a way which helps to bring people to work, not replace the people. I won't go through the rest of the thing because it's a lot of iteration on that kind of standpoint. But boys, this is what we've been saying for a long time. AI, the concept and the usefulness of AI, is not the thing that kills. It's the let's use AI to cut corners and cost people their jobs. That's the part I hate. And I'm not a big fan of generative AI for final deliverables. I'm not totally opposed to it. There have been some great games that have come out that have had generative AI in it, and great, that's whatever. But generally, I think people are using it to cut corners rather than to be efficient. And I like it for efficiency. But what do you think? Brandon, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think that this is a completely reasonable and level-headed response from this. Is it the executive lead? What did you say he was?
Let's call him a developer. Yeah.
Yeah, from this gentleman. I feel like this is a completely level-headed and reasonable take. But I also think with the landscape we currently live in, it's not to be, it's very brave of him to come out and say this sort of thing with how tumultuous, with how inflammatory everything is around Gen AI. But I think this is great. This is pretty much exactly what I've been saying about AI from the beginning, is that it's a good tool, but it shouldn't be used to replace individual talent or the creative aspect of the human version, the human contribution to a game. So, yeah, I think that this is completely reasonable. I don't want to say this is like a nothing take, but like so many developers use AI for other things, right? For other things in games, how they're built. placing entire forests. So like I just don't think we've said it before. I don't think most people know how these sort of things work generally. They just like to grandstand and like virtue signal through these Gen AI talks. But I like that he's coming out and saying something that's completely reasonable and completely good. But as you've said, Ben, I think there is a fine line when cutting corners and saving costs does actually damage the human aspect of the game, which is the only thing that makes games any good, is the human aspect of the game. A game that's made by AI would lack soul, and I mean that in so many different ways. But yeah, I like this take. I think it's good, and it's what I've been saying for a while. But it's nice to see Direct has a lot of pull in the industry, so I think this is good. Yeah, I like this take.
Am I still here?
Yes.
That was weird. Everything froze for a minute. Sorry. I think I heard most of what you said there at the end. Dave, what about you? What do you think?
I think Brandon's biased because he works for AI.
I do
No.
not work for
Yeah.
AI.
AI guy.
Take what he says with a grain of AI.
I
salt.
am big AI, okay? I am the danger.
I don't know. I agree with Brandon in the sense that there are people who hear the word Gen AI and immediately get their back up and say it's gonna take our jobs. And it's kind of the nasty, scary AI that's gonna put everybody out of work and it's gonna make video games soulless and that kind of stuff. And I agree with that. I understand why people get kind of their backs up on that. But I kind of feel like what the developer is describing in this article is not really that. It's more like they're using AI for prototyping and automating QA, which to me isn't really like the AI in the controversial sense, which is literally replacing people. And I think what he is saying is I agree with it. It's if you can use it to give the fleshy human, the creative person, more time to be creative and make interesting games, then that's great. I think that's an awesome way of using AI. But I think the slope we're going down is extremely slippery, and when you start to use AI in ways that are approaching generative, then people are going to be replaced. Video games ultimately are sold to make a profit, and anytime you're trying to make a profit, the idea is to maximize that profit. And the companies that dominate this industry will use Gen AI over real people any day of the week. So I'm not naive enough to think that companies are going to choose people over profits, because they just aren't. And this is here to stay. So yeah, I don't know. This is kind of a weird article because I feel like what he's talking about isn't Gen AI in sort of the controversial sense, but more, I like what he's describing. I think that's a good approach, but in reality, I don't think that's the way that it's ultimately going to be leveraged. So, yeah.
What do you got? I think we all can agree or have agreed that utilizing AI to justify firing people or whatever kind of sucks, right? But what do you think about just an average dude who's like, I want to make a game, but I don't really know how. Let me build the entire thing with AI and put it out. It's not costing anyone their jobs. It may not be a great game, but is it immoral? The game wouldn't have been made at all otherwise. This is just a mind twister. I don't have a point.
I think at this point in time, if you're transparent about the fact that your game was primarily made by generative AI, then I think no harm, no foul. I think if you try to mask the fact that you didn't create this game, but you put your name on it as an indie developer, that's a big problem, especially in this medium. And maybe in 10 years that won't be a problem because we'll just be so used to this and other things, similar mediums being spat out by AI that it's just will become so numb to it. But I think in today's day and age, if you're transparent about it, then it's okay. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy your game, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It's interesting from my perspective because as someone who and not really talking generative AI here, but someone who uses AI for productivity with work a lot, um, like the narrative. I'm not saying you were saying this, Dave, but the narrative that goes around is like, oh, AI just made this. There's no no human intervention. It's like, well, no, actually, it's actually pretty hard. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like it's as hard as making a game as a developer by with your blood, sweat, and tears. But like, there's a lot that goes into making a game with AI. Used to, before prompts were really easy, you'd hear people say like, "Oh, I'm an AI artist. It takes a lot to do that prompting." And I thought that was funny at the time. Now it would be funny because AI prompting is so easy. But now that I've been working with some of this stuff to develop some of these like processes and everything, I'm like, oh wow, this is not just easy. It's not just like make a game and it does it. It requires a lot of extra output and input as well. I don't know. I'm just musing at the moment, but Brandon, what do you think? If our main argument is AI sucks in the gaming industry because it takes away jobs, which has been proven true and true over and over again. If you're just a random guy who would never make a game otherwise, why not build it with AI?
Yeah, I think that whenever you look at something as complex as AI and you like boil it down to like granular extremes, uh, there's certainly good and bad in it generally. But yeah, I don't see any problem with that generally. I think that Dave is on the right track with being upfront about it, at least at this point, and where we stand with it. But I think that most people wouldn't have a problem with that as opposed to big companies skimping out or firing animators or firing, people who code. I think there's a big difference, and most people, most reasonable people, would see that a guy just trying to make a game who wouldn't know how to otherwise, or needs it to help him extrapolate or play test. I think that's a lot different than the other end of the spectrum.
No. Anyway, I'm sick of talking about AI. Dave, did you want to hit this next story? Did you have anything specific, or do you want to go ahead and talk about what we've been playing?
No, I just thought it would be a fun rapid fire to throw in at the end if you want.
Cool. Let's rapid fire it then. PlayStation Plus monthly games for May. EA Sports Football Club 26. That seems pretty soon for that game. I'm surprised by that.
It's last year's game.
Late last year, though, right?
This would have come out in 25.
Well, that's last year.
Right, but like, don't they usually come out at the beginning of the year?
I don't know that. I thought they were like more like summer, fall. But either way, you're getting the most recent EA Sports Football Club game on PlayStation Plus. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. It's a big one from last year. And then Nine Souls.
That's supposed to be really good.
I've heard Nine Souls is really good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. It's not my style of game, but I've heard really wonderful things.
I've heard it's super hard.
Yeah.
But I want to play it otherwise.
Yeah.
Last chance to add April's games to your library. You have till May 4th. That's Lords of the Fallen, Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 Remastered, and Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream. Sometimes I forget that Sword Art Online exists, or is as big as it is still, somehow. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Brandon, you've been gone a couple weeks. Let's start with you.
Honestly, not a whole lot, aside from Marathon. I played a little bit of Vampire Crawlers, and I've been enjoying that. I haven't played too much, though. I'm going to be completely transparent. I maybe played like an hour or two. I do enjoy it quite a bit, but to be honest with you, it kind of just made me want to go play Vampire Survivors. So I'm not saying I'm not going to play it more, but I enjoyed it, and I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Everyone I know who's been playing it it's sunk their claws into them a lot more than it has with me. Maybe I just need to keep at it, but yeah, it's fine.
Let's pause there for a minute, because all three of us have been playing Vampire Crawlers. Dave, you started playing it this past week as well. You sent me a picture of you playing it on your Switch. Let me hear about it. Let me hear about your experience.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's perfect for the Switch, and I've tried to get into like deck building games in the past, and I've kind of been surprised at how long they've been able to keep my interest, because cards are boring. They're dumb. So I think what's kind of drawing me into Vampire Crawlers is this speed. And I didn't realize this when I bought it, but the subtitle of the game is actually called The Turbo something or other. So it's meant to be like a very fast paced deck builder, which I think is cool. And the other thing is the personality. It's sort of like pixel art, gothic, vampire theme, but with sort of a silly tinge to it. And I assume that was built into Vampire Survivors as well, but I didn't. Vampire Survivors is the inferior Survivor game, and I played the good one. So
have you never played any Vampire Survivors at all?
No, I've
Wow.
only played DRG Survivors. So
better.
I assume that that's kind of part of the personality of that game too, where it's like just silly stuff, like when you open it like a chest and it goes like boom, 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 like I don't know, just little things like that. So yeah, I just think like it kind of plays into my like monkey brain, where it's just like you can move through a run, and it will take like 30 minutes, which is not a short amount of time, but it moves so fast. And yeah, I'm surprised at how much I'm liking it. I'm really glad I got it on the Switch, because I don't think I'd play it as much if I had it on computer or a console I had to sit at. So yeah, I think this game is doing really well right now, and I'm not surprised as to why. But Ben, what appeals to you about Vampire Crawlers?
Oh, just the way my brain works. I'm really stupid, and I like things that click.
Shiny
this
stuff.
this does that. Yeah, Vampire Crawlers I think is phenomenal. I do enjoy roguelike deck builders. I also really enjoyed Vampire Survivors and all, of course, the Survivor genre that came after it. I mean, it was around a little bit, I think, before that, but it really blew up after it, obviously. I really, one of my favorite things, and this is why I'm kind of sad for you, Dave, that you never played Vampire Survivors, is how many ties into it there are. Like even like little things like you were just mentioning, the dun 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 with the chest, like, you know, that's a thing in the game, but there's so many other things. But then they've added some other stuff too. Like there's some minor voice lines. Like one of the characters, when you use the whip, says "whip it," and I don't know why, that's just hilarious to me. So like the humor and everything that goes into it, it's even if it's minor. But then the next thing starts coming in, and this is where my dumb brain starts getting in the way. Figuring out, once I figured out, and actually Dustin helped me with this. Once I figured out how the combos work and how you can string them together and how you can like parlay them into another combo with specific cards and stuff like that, like that's when a game clicks for me. When I played Balatro, which I was fortunate enough to get to play that game pre-release, the first like hour of it, I was like, I don't get it. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, it clicked. And I was like, oh, I get it. And then I literally still have it installed on my computer, on my Switch, on my PlayStation. I play it anytime I'm at a device. Yeah.
Okay, so it took me a little while to get that combo thing too. So let me explain it, and I need you to tell me how to do the parlay sync. So the combo works is you play a 0 card, and then if you play a 1 card next, you start a combo. Yep. And then if you play a 2 card next, you continue the combo. Am I correct so far?
You are correct.
So then how do you parlay that into, because as soon as I can only play like up to a let's say a 2 card, and then, you know, the next card I play has to be a 1 or a 0. So how do I string that into the next combo without having to clear out the multiplier?
Well, first, eventually you will have cards that are higher than that. You know, you'll have 3s and 4s and higher. But the way that I have done it thus far is, you know how sometimes you get the wild cards?
Okay.
They're like it's like a W, and it doesn't cost anything to use. Those W's have, if you hover over them, they have 2 things that they do. One is, I don't remember, whatever the card says, it does that. And then the wild card part of it is that it will continue a combo. So while you or let's say you have a 0, 1, and a 3, but you don't have a 2, you can use that wild to continue the combo. But generally, if you go out of a combo, then you can go right back into it with a wild card. That's why if you are ending your round and you have a wild card remaining, because they burn upon use, just move on to the next hand rather than burning that card because you may be able to use it later for a combo.
Got it. Okay.
There were a couple other things that I figured out with Dustin's help. The cards that say like activates yellow or something like that. Different characters have different attributes. It took me a little while. Like I knew that was a mechanic. I just couldn't figure it out. Once you figure that out too, it really helps you hone in what you're investing your upgrades and everything into. So that's pretty cool. Grief in chat says you can get gems to turn normal cards into wild cards that don't burn. Yeah, the combos can get really crazy. He was telling me like he almost froze up his system with all the crazy combos he was doing the other night. And I guess Holly, Dustin's wife, beat the game at least once already, which
Whoa.
Of course she would be the first one out of anyone I know to do that because the way her brain works is like it just clicked, like that kind of stuff clicks better with her. She's really skilled at it. And it doesn't surprise me that she decimated that game as
Right.
well. But if you ever want to lose at Civ real bad, just play Holly. You'll embarrass yourself. Trust me. But yes, I'm loving Vampire Crawlers. I want to continue to play it. That game was like the easiest $10 I've ever spent, especially after all the goodwill they have with Vampire Survivors. And I played this demo, and the moment it dropped, I bought it. Which is normally I'll buy a game when I'm ready to play it. I wanted to buy that game the moment it dropped, even though I wasn't going to be able to play it till like later that night or even the next day. So, love it. Brandon, back to you though.
Yeah, and then I picked up Need for Speed Heat.
I saw you playing that today.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game when it came out, and I was itching to play a new racing game, and it's not very long. Forza will be coming out very soon. But yeah, I just kind of had an itch, and it was less than $10, and I remember it being one of the ones in recent memory that I enjoyed the most. And still actually has a decent. I saw something with some of the newer Need for Speeds. They were saying the player counts were like rivaling on this game, back when Need for Speeds were coming out, because this is one of the better ones. So, yeah, nothing new to report there. They're continuing to, add new things to it because there still are people playing it, and you could spend money on things at EA. That's the way they do it. But
yeah, thanks for buying it because now I can play it since we're related and live in the same household.
Since you're my brother and
right.
you live in my and I live in your spare bedroom.
Right.
Yeah, dude, it's good. Check it out. It's like I said, it's not very long. None of these games ever are. But yeah, it's good. It's good because I'm like very much a JDM guy too.
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't have some American muscle in there, but the JDM neon-soaked night aesthetic is very, very, very present in this game, and it's one that I prefer in my car games. So
nice. Davey, what else you got today?
I've been playing more Red Dead Redemption 2.
Let me stop you for just 1 second.
Okay.
At some point between last week and this week, I found myself thinking, can't wait to hear what Dave has to say about Red Dead 2. I'm living vicariously through you right now.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I kind of took away from the time I played in the last week was how like layered the different characters in the gang are. When I first met Micah, I'm like, okay, this guy's fucking crazy and I hate him. But like, I really admire the lengths that he's going to try to redeem himself with the gang. And yeah, he's insane and he's a murderer, but like, again, he's trying to do a lot to kind of solidify his place in the gang, which I think is cool. I think about like John and like how Arthur's trying to like flesh out the relationship between his supposed son and him. And it's weird with John, obviously, because you play a whole nother game as him. So you kind of have, it's tough to hate him because he was such a cool character in Red Dead Redemption. And I know that relationship is going to change, but it's like I went on a fishing trip with his son. I did that mission and I thought that was really interesting. And Josiah is the other one where it's like, you're learning so much from him as kind of like the I don't know, the grandfatherly figure of the gang, but you also kind of feel sorry for him because he's clearly lost his step, and you kind of wish he would just find a way to get out. So I don't know. It's there's all these like very layered relationships and characters in the game that are fleshed out in really meaningful ways that I'm really enjoying because the writing and the narrative is just so top notch. So that's kind of where I'm at with Red Dead. Still just living in the game, like not really sprinting around or fast traveling or anything like that. Just kind of doing what like comes to me. And yeah, so having a good time there.
I don't think I fast traveled once in all of Red Dead 2.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do, and that's okay because it's such a well-designed game, and it just feels so alive that it's like if I fast travel, I'm gonna miss something,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I don't want to miss a thing.
Exactly. Don't want to close my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to fall asleep.
Yep.
When I'm with you, babe. So I don't want to miss things.
Arthur.
Yeah, and
What if we just sampled Arthur into like 90s Aerosmith the hairband type? It would work, I'm telling you.
Why not? And I played some Deep Rock Galactic. I'm really looking forward to Rogue Core. I know I'm going to be disappointed, but that comes out in a few weeks.
Why do you think you'll be disappointed?
Just based on some of the stuff I'm reading. I feel like it's the kind of game where I'm going to put some time into it and just kind of be like, I want to play Deep Rock. Deep Rock is a vibey game where you can just kind of like hang out in it, and technically it's a tense extraction game, but you can just kind of put it on low complexity cave, low difficulty, and just kind of hang out with Bosco, and it's a really fun game where you can fuck around with some randoms. I think Rogue Core, it appears, is much more structured around tension and speed and stuff like that, which is fine, but yeah, I don't know, we'll see when it comes out.
I have been very intentional. I think only one time have I watched a trailer or anything about that game because it's one I know I'm going to buy, and I do like roguelikes a lot. So I'm probably going to enjoy it. But yeah, it is a fine line between capturing the magic that is Deep Rock and turning it into a hardcore game of the genre.
Yeah, agreed. But we'll see.
Yeah.
That's all for me.
For me, I talked about Vampire Crawlers. I've been playing some more Mouse PI, although very little this week because of another game. It's still very good. I just got done with like the first act, I think. The one thing that occurred to me this week that I wanted to, like, it very much knows its audience, and it knows what it is as well. But one thing that I thought was really funny that I didn't catch on for like the first 4 or 5 hours I played the game was there are literal monster closets. There's doors with skulls and bones on them, and enemies come out of them. And once the enemies are done coming out of them, the door shuts. The door is open for as long as the enemies are coming out of it. And I was like, that's very clever and also very self-aware of what kind of game it is. It's like kind of mocking video game culture, which I like. Mocking it in a loving way. But I don't really have anything more too profound to say on that other than it's shaping up still to be really good. I think this is one that I'll continue to go back to until I finish it for, as long as it takes, but it's not like the top game I'm playing right now. I've continued to play Winrose as well. Man, the survival crafting element of this game, Dave, I know you hate to hear it, but just keeps getting better and better. I got to a new biome where I get a new material that has unlocked like a whole new tree that I didn't know existed. And the stuff I'm able to craft now is just like really cool. So there's a couple
listening. This is called Ubisoft Hater Cope.
Yeah, Dave, that's what it is. What was the player count on Skull and Bones again? I forget. So it's just continued to be really great. This new biome has opened up a lot more stuff to do and more like things to take back to my base. I'm very, unlike with Red Dead, where I never use fast travel, I use fast travel all the time in this game. And it is essential because the amount of distance you have to cover between locations is vast in your boat. And not that you can't move quickly, but it just takes a very long time to get even to the next island over sometimes. So I'm very thankful that exists. The difficulty was very easy at the beginning. It seems like there's not much of a penalty. For instance, when you die, anything that's like in your hotbar, or sometimes even things you take into a fight with you, or like leave base with, you keep. You don't lose them. You do lose anything else you've gathered along the way. And I thought, like, that's not really how this usually works. But then the difficulty has really started kicking up, especially in this new biome where the enemies are all like tremendously over leveled above you intentionally. And somebody shoots you with a musket, you can die in one hit. And that's very avoidable, but very traumatic when it does happen. So I'm really enjoying that. I wanted to tell, I did come into a scenario this week where I had to go and find a ship that had been kind of taken over, and I had to go out and find it. And I got up to it and I was like, how do I beat this thing? So I jumped onto the ship and I got swarmed by like 50 pirates. I tried it a couple more times, continued just dying over and over. Then I was like, okay, well, maybe I got to fight it with naval. So I took my ship out and started blasting it. It shoots me once, blows my whole ship up. It was impossible. Then I just tried running around the ship and seeing what could happen. And finally, I found what I was looking for on the ship was in like the lower deck of the ship. I tried running to it directly a few times, died repeatedly, kept having to go back to it. And finally, I just ran down to it immediately, clicked on it, clicked confirm, and I completed the mission and ran away. And I was like, I don't know if that was intentional, that this was impossible to complete. Like for an hour, I genuinely stood on my boat, jumped over to the other boat. My rapier that I have does like bleed damage. So if you hit an enemy, they continue to bleed for a certain amount of time. And so I would jump over, isolate one enemy, slash them like 5 times to build up like the maximum that it could do, jump back to my boat, heal up if I needed to, let that guy bleed for a little bit, jump back on, attack another guy. And I was doing that for like an hour, just trying to get a few of these guys whittled down. And ultimately I was like, this cannot be the right way to do this. But the right way is the way I ended up doing it, by just like, I went in, I found that box. As soon as I completed the mission, I got slashed by like 14 guys from behind. So I think that part may be a little bit unbalanced, but by and large, the game does have quite a bit of a difficulty ramp. So I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm doing some farming now. I'm building up my base a little more. It's great. Like, I really like it. Dave, you would probably hate it, but it's really good. Please don't feel left out. There's a fly on my microphone. And then the last game I wrote down here, Returnal 2, but by that I mean Saros. Saros is, or Saros, how do you guys say it?
I think it's Saros.
Saros is very, very good. The whole time I've been sitting here, I've been thinking about playing it instead. Not that I don't want to be here with you guys, but that's like the kind of hold it has on me right now. If you liked Returnal at all, you will like this game because it is very similar to it. And as a matter of fact, Returnal was very similar to a lot of Housemarque's previous games, just in a different format. It's a gnat flying around bugging me. Saros is very penalizing, but it also has some mechanics to make it very forgiving. For instance, after you clear the first boss, you unlock the ability to give yourself like positive attributes. There's a scale that goes back and forth. You can give yourself some positive attributes, but not too many. But then you can balance that out with some negative attributes. So you got to kind of weigh what you need the most versus what you aren't worried about the negative effects of the most, or be willing to take that on the chin. So that's a cool mechanic that it has. The upgrade system is very cool, the way it works, and the different currencies that you use. And one of my favorite parts of it is that there are certain enemies that blast out like a blue bubble or a blue projectile. And if you absorb those with your shield, you build up your like special attack, and you can then shoot rockets or another type of special that you may have, and do a lot more damage with that. So the game is a ton of fun. The one thing I'm not loving, I turned the aim assist down as much as I possibly could because it was like insta-locking onto everything. Sometimes to an advantage where I was like, this is too easy. And other times to a disadvantage because it would lock onto the wrong thing and be hard to, because the aim assist was so strong, hard to pull off to the enemy I was actually trying to shoot. So like that's a little bit of a negative for me, but I guess there's worse things that can be the situation. So I'm really enjoying it, having a great time. Most importantly, unlike Returnal, it has not crashed my PS5 and required 2 RMAs to get it fixed. Although I don't think that was Returnal's fault, it was a hardware manufacturer fault. But I digress. So really enjoying it. I've cleared the first boss and then got to this a second boss. I don't know if it's like the second act or anything, but the story is way better from the get-go. I have heard through some sources I didn't want to hear that this story overall isn't as good, but the fact that like the moment you get into the game, it presents you with a story and then it continues building on that over time is really intriguing to me. And the cutscenes are wild. If you saw any trailers before the game came out, you know that the CGI work, or I shouldn't say CGI work, but the graphical work that they did, the cutscene work in the trailers alone was very good. It's very good in game too, and quality, super quality. So I'm having a great time with it. The gameplay is very similar to Returnal, but in a lot of ways very different as well. The one big critique I have of the game is that it doesn't really tell you at any point what all the icons on your screen mean. I had to go and look that up on a YouTube video to actually find out what all those different icons meant. So I was like, okay, so I know that somehow I'm building up what's like the negative thing, corruption, and I know that my health is somewhere. I don't know which one is which. I can't really easily tell during combat because I'm focused on not dying. There's this number over here. I don't really know what that relates to. Oh, now there's these other 3 numbers too. So I had to go and look all that up. The game didn't like walk you through it, which I've talked about this before. I don't think a game needs to handhold you, but like knowing where your health bar is, I feel like is something they could have made more apparent. Or maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. Either way, I'm really enjoying it. I intend on finishing it. So that's good for me. And that's it. That's all the games we have to talk about. All the news we have to discuss. Anything else, boys, before we go for the week?
That's it.
In just a few short weeks, we'll be together out in the middle of the woods, camping, drinking beer.
Lovely.
It's going to be great. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. We'll catch you next week. Goodbye.